Hey folks, thanks for checking into the Neutral Zone Hotel. We are an unapologetically left-leaning podcast that explores hockey at its best and worst. I'm Benjamin, a Montreal Canadiens and Ottawa Charged fan out of Ottawa, Ontario. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm thrilled you've chosen to stay with the Neutral Zone Hotel. Here to ensure you have a wonderful stay is one of my colleagues, SJ. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is SJ. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a Seattle Kraken, PWHL Seattle and Everett Silvertips fan hailing from the lovely and oddly sunny for June city of Seattle. Climate change has come for us all.
Well, you have Climate Change Arena in the city, so that makes sense.
Yep. So we do.
I'll never get old to make fun of Gary Bettman around this show.
I mean, he's not the only one who's done that. It's practically a meme now. It's
kind of just what you expect to say when you say climate. Like, it's the next word, the natural next word, right?
Yeah. Well, Climate Pledge just wasn't a good name.
The NHL Finals are still going on. As we sit here talking, puck has just dropped in Game 6. So by the time you hear this, the Florida Panthers could be repeat Stanley Cup champions, or the Oilers may have forced and possibly played, depending on when edit happens, a Game 7. I, for one, am expecting a Game 7, if only because I feel Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, both at full power, are not going to lose this thing in 6. But they will have to do that in spite of the Oilers' goaltending, not because of it, in spite of it. SJ, how are you feeling about Mr. Stuart Skinner's chances of helping the Edmonton Oilers to hoist their 7th, 5th, 6th Lord Championship Stanley? I really screwed that up, but you can keep the whole thing in, John.
I'm editing this week.
Oh, well, then you can keep it in if you think it's funny. How do you think Stuart Skinner has the capacity to help them hoist Lord Stanley's mug for a 6th time?
Yes, actually. I think he has a pretty high ceiling. He does have the ability to pitch the occasional playoff shutout. He has shown that. He is also just an inconsistent goalie. So who knows what's gonna happen? I do think they have a better chance of winning with Skinner in net than with Pickard. But I don't know. They're definitely they definitely have something to overcome here as far as their goaltending. And they've got a tough opponent in the Panthers. The Panthers have put up no fewer than 3 goals in every game they've played in this final so far. And usually it's more than that. I think that 3 goals was one time. So, yeah, they're just, they're having to very much outscore their problems if they want to take this to a Game 7.
It's really interesting to me that it's the Panthers who are outscoring their problems when they've had a very good playoff run to get here, but certainly were winning games by smothering offense and getting just enough goals on the way up. And now that they're in the finals, they've kind of taken Edmonton's gimmick, which is outscoring their problems, and turned it on them.
So the Oilers have such a high-powered offense that I think both of these teams. Okay, so here's the Panthers. When they have shelled up, they've gotten a lead and shelled up or too early in this series. The Oilers have broken their shell. So unless they maintain momentum and keep going with their offense and keep possessing, I the Oilers can overcome. They're essentially allowing the Oilers to come back in so many of these games. So yeah, maybe the Oilers are not Carolina, you know? They're just not. They're too good. They have too good an offense with Draisaitl and McDavid. But the Oilers also really miss Zach Hyman right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Nugent Hopkins has been playing hurt. It's very obvious. Their bottom six has kind of disappeared. And Barkov, people have been like, oh, Barkov's not doing anything. Barkov has been doing a pretty good job of shutting down McDavid for much of this series. Not all the time, because you can't shut down McDavid all the time. But for a lot of that time, and that's one reason that Barkov doesn't have a lot of points in this series. Instead, most of the damage has been coming in on the Bennett and Luosterainen line.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty evident that the bottom six of the Panthers is beating the bottom six of the Oilers, which, that's not abnormal. Although they did have a pretty good playoffs up until this point, that bottom six. But the Oilers have often gone, well, we'll win the top line minutes, and if we can make the bottom 6 minutes a wash, then we're doing okay. But crushing the bottom 6 minutes and then holding McDavid, not necessarily even to a draw, but stopping it from being a blowout, is really allowing that second line to flourish. Yeah. And I think when Draisaitl plays in the second line, I think they've exposed some of his defensive liabilities that have been, usually, again, he can outrun them. But I think there is something to be said for the fact that that line can't hold up defensively. I think that if you have Zach Hyman, you're moving a couple people around and you have a little bit more power on that second line, and I think that really helps. So I do think that is a big part of the problem. But I also think you have to go to Paul Maurice and to the team and give them credit for saying, we played X way to get here. Now that we're here, we have to play this very offensive game, except for our top line. And so far, that's been, really good. And also, got to give it to him, Sergei Bobrovsky. He's on the case.
He is. Yeah, he's been pretty good in this series.
Oh, well, I don't think he's had a bad game. Unlike last year where he got blown out at least once.
Yeah. I mean, certainly nothing anybody has talked about. So, yeah, Bob just hasn't been the story in this series. And honestly, if your goaltending is just not a story, I think you're doing really well.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's compare to where the goaltending is a story, a.k.a. Edmonton. Yeah. Stuart Skinner getting chased out of game 4. They put in Pickard. The Oilers come back to win an OT. They start Pickard. He gets killed. He gets shelled. Yeah, he gets killed out there. So we've seen this play out multiple times in the playoffs for both this year and previously, last year for Edmonton. In all those situations, Skinner's come back and had a powerful rebound for the next few games. And if that pattern repeats, that sets the Oilers up to win 2 straight games. That's all they have to do is win two in a row.
It's tough, though.
It's tough, but it's not. I mean, this time last year, they were in the middle of trying to win 4 in a row, which is a lot harder.
Yeah.
So,
but they didn't manage it either.
They almost did. 1 goal away.
Well, it doesn't matter how many goals away they were. They didn't win.
No, but the point is, like you said earlier.
And what's incredible this year? The Panthers are better on the road than they are at home. It's almost like not having home ice is an advantage for them this year.
Yeah. They certainly have just found a way to just, the Panthers are, throughout this whole playoff, simply one of the best hockey teams I've ever seen. I do think this year's installation is better than last year's in a lot of ways. They might be missing a couple of the big ticket names in terms of Montour and OEL, but they found a way to become greater than the sum of their new parts. The big players are playing even bigger than before. That is rare.
Seth Jones has really risen to the occasion of this opportunity as well, as has Nico Mikkola. So I definitely want to call out, like, their defense has been so good. Even Ekblad, who is, like, hasn't been terrible. Like, and he's kind of cooked.
This is the kind of situation that I think Seth Jones was designed for, just to be that third defenseman in a good system. Mm-hmm. When he was with Columbus before he went to Chicago, he was this third defenseman. And Columbus had a pretty good defensive system. They were making lots of really good defensemen at the time. And he was extremely good. He kind of crushes those middle pairing minutes. When Florida went out and got him for a discount compared to kind of what that previous value was, his value had been depressed by trying to hold back the tide. Yeah, standing in front of the floodgates himself and trying to hold back the tide. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people realize he was never really a true number one, except for, Stan Bowman when he signed to that contract. But $7 million for a 3D in the NHL of next year is not a bad deal. They do not care about the last 2 years of this deal.
No.
Because their window will be closing.
They'll have traded him by then.
Yeah, if he is able to perform like this for the next 2 to 3 years in that middle pairing with like kind of looks on the top pairing, I think that you're very happy with that trade. And they gave up a surplus goaltender that was no longer in their plans.
I mean, they really don't have much goaltending depth behind Bob, but I don't know, maybe they're not worried about it.
I think it is interesting that we have seen 3 starting goaltenders come out of the Florida system in the past few years. 4 if Devon Levi ever gets there.
It's that Roberto Luongo magic, man.
I mean, they've found good players. They've done some level of development on them. They've gone to other teams and been successful. But at the end of the day, it's Sergei Bobrovsky who holds the crease. And until he either proves he can no longer do it or he decides he's done, I do not foresee anyone who has, dreams of playing more than 30 games signing in Florida or staying there long term. Mm-hmm. Because he's kind of gotten to this place where he'll give you a good enough regular season to get you to the playoffs, and then he's going to go 9-20 in the playoffs. And that is a great gift as a team. If
Bob wins another Stanley Cup this year, do you think he's first ballot Hall of Famer?
100%. Like, he's posted 226 goals against, a 912 save percentage. He's tied with Skinner for 3 shutouts. He's had an exceptional playoffs. And the only reason we're not talking more about how good he's been is that he's, been overshadowed on his own team by Bennett. Mostly by Bennett. Like,
Bennett and Marchand. Marchand's such a narrative.
Man, it's so fun to hate Brad Marchand, but you got to give him credit. He is taking this opportunity and running with it, and he's going to make
so much money.
Somebody is going to give him a deal, because he was on a $6.3 million deal as a 40-goal scorer on the left wing for a long time.
And they're going to give him way too much money for way too long. It's going to be really funny.
Someone's going to give him like a $7.5-8 million deal for 3 years, and it's going to be ridiculous.
I mean, I don't even think 3 years, like at $8 million, is that ridiculous anymore. Like, but I could see them stretching it out to, like, obviously he's not going to play the last several years of this deal kind of territory.
Wow.
Just to keep the AAV down.
I mean, that's you're not supposed to do that, SJ.
Oh, sure. Talk to
Gary
me about
Bettman will call
it. Nobody called. I don't think anybody called. What's his face in Toronto when he signed that Chris Tanev deal?
No, I think they may have only given him 1 year too many, though.
Well,
the big thing for me is Brad Marchand, of course, is 37. So if you're giving him more than a 1 year deal, I think it is malfeasance. Not even malpractice. Malfeasance.
Yeah, he could easily play until he's 40. Corey Perry is looking for another deal this summer. Hi, Leif. My dog's here. You can probably hear
Your
him.
dog is always here, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. I would like the Oilers to win. I know you would prefer Florida to win.
That's right.
But what I really hope for is 2 great hockey games.
I want it's really terrible because Leon Draisaitl is my favorite player, but I hate the Oilers. How much sense does that make?
I mean, they're not very good at garnering sympathy.
No.
So we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, what else is happening? Are we talking about the NHL still, or are we...
We're going to talk about the NHL. I'm dragging this out as long as possible and hope that the Charge signs somebody by the time we get to the end of the segment where we talk about PWHL free agency.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Frankly, I'm just hoping to avoid a meltdown that you have to edit later. But to be honest with you, SJ, it's not looking good. But let's talk about Chris Kreider to the Duckies. Let's talk about Pat Verbeek's quest to reassemble the 2021 New York Rangers. And let's talk about Chris Drury's desire to destroy everything that the New York Rangers hold dear.
The Rangers are such a strange team.
Yeah, so the New York Rangers trade Chris Kreider and the remainder of his contract, so $6.5 million next year and the year after, to the Anaheim Ducks for a player that they should never have drafted and that is not going to make the NHL and may not even make professional hockey in general. What are your thoughts?
Didn't they also get a pick?
They may have gotten like a fourth.
Yeah, some kind of low pick. I don't know.
Okay. They exchanged forward Carey Terrence and a third, originally Toronto's. They didn't even get Anaheim's 3rd round pick this year. They got Toronto's 3rd round pick this year. The 2025 entry draft in exchange for Chris Kreider and a 4th round pick. That was originally Anaheim, so Anaheim gets their own 4th round pick back.
So it's kind of a wash. Toronto's 3rd versus Anaheim's 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much in the way of expected differences there.
No, there's really not. Yeah, so, okay, so what I was saying, 2 years ago, the Rangers go to the Eastern Conference Final. They get beat by, who was it? Who beat them 2 years ago?
So in 2023, the Rangers were 3rd in the Metro, lost to the Devils in the first. 2024, they won the President's Trophy, lost the Panthers in the conference finals.
Right.
Then they missed the playoffs.
And then okay. So
you go.
Okay. So clearly they are a team that has been built on the back of their goaltending. And when their goaltending is not superhuman, they've got obvious holes. So I understand Drury wanting to make some changes. The Rangers have over the years made some unfortunate signings in terms of long-term contracts that have a lot of trade protection. So part of the problem with signing with Trouba, leaving aside the fact that they made him the captain and then decided they needed to yeet him into the sun in the same year, was that he had significant trade protection. And Drury's favorite trade partner seems to be Pat Verbeek of the Anaheim Ducks, and the Anaheim Ducks suck. They're just a really bad team right now. So if Drury wants to trade these players to Anaheim, he's having to make some moves. This is also last summer is also when he got around Barclay Goodrow's full no trade, his no trade, by waiving him. And that created a lot of really bad feelings in the locker room, apparently, according to reports. So there was kind of like apparently this like core of, let's say, malcontents. And then Drury put out that memo to the other GMs saying he was looking to trade Kreider and, oh gosh, who was the other one?
Miller?
No. He traded for Miller.
Wasn't that...
It was...
I don't remember what the other one was. I know
it might have been Trouba.
Might have been.
It might have been Trouba.
Yeah, it might have been Trouba.
Yeah, so he managed to get Trouba out the door, but he was also looking to trade Kreider. These were two very popular players among the other players. So it's like basically Drury is doing sort of a very aggressive form of surgery on the roster, and he's making big cuts. And I think he's really he's really looked at the roster and is asking himself, who is our core? My question for you is, who is the Rangers' core?
Well, I think we know who isn't. So just looking at the roster from last year,
okay.
Panarin and Trocheck are still there. Kreider, gone. Fox, still there. Zibanejad, rumored to be shopped right now. Keandre Miller, they want to get rid of him. Trouba, gone. Wheeler, retired. Capo Caco, finally gave up on him, sent him to Seattle. He immediately got better. Barclay Goodrow, they massacred him and sent him off to San Jose. Ryan Lindgren, gone. Jack Roslovic, gone. Philip Hedl, gone. Nick Bonino, left. We're running out of meaningful players who aren't Matt Rempe.
Adam Fox
on
is
that
still
roster.
there.
Yeah, Adam Fox. So I think the answer to the question is they consider the core Fox, Trocheck, and Panarin.
And Shesterkin.
And, of course, Igor Shesterkin, who held them up for highway robbery.
And Panarin's on his last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
This is his last year going, and that's an $11.6 million contract. They traded for Miller. I would argue Miller might be part of their new core. So maybe, and I'm not sure that if they make a big swing for Marner this summer, I'm not convinced they keep Panarin around. 34-year-old Panarin. Maybe they offer him a couple of more years, but maybe he goes back to the market if he wants a big payday.
It's going to be really interesting because they brought in JT Miller. Mm-hmm. They brought in a contract that was originally considered a boat anchor. Miller had an excellent year to make it seem like it wouldn't be, and then he kind of talked himself out of the locker room. They've given Alexis Lafreniere a good contract, but they're still waiting for that breakthrough.
He hasn't played he hasn't played up to that contract.
No, I don't think so either. 57 points last year, 45 points this year. If he was a 30-60 player, you could say that's a 7.5, especially with the cap going up, but not the player he was last season. And to be fair, obviously everyone took a step back last season.
Yeah, last season was a cursed season. Now Lafreniere is 23. This could be his year. Especially, if he's playing next to a center that he likes all season, consistent lines, Trocheck or Miller.
They are clearing the space for him to be one of the guys. So he's going to have, if this isn't the year that Alexis Lafreniere becomes a big name forward in the NHL, I don't think he ever will.
I think that if he doesn't break out this year, they will dump him. They will figure out a way to dump that contract.
Send them to Montreal, retain 30%.
I don't know. I don't think they'd retain for that long.
I think Chris Drury's dumb.
I mean, he definitely put everything that happened last year with in New York's locker room. I think that was very much an unforced error by Chris Drury. I don't necessarily think that him trying to do surgery on the roster is a bad idea. Clearly, they needed more from their forward group, from their defense. He basically totally redid the defense on the fly last year, bringing in such Kraken legends as Will Borgen and Carson Soucy, two serviceable third pair guys who are now playing second pair minutes, I guess, in New York, which I'm not sure that's like a long-term recipe for success, but more power to them if they can manage it. Oh, and they have a new coach this year too.
Yeah, and they got Sullivan and Tortorella as an assistant. It's going to be an interesting coaching arrangement. Mm-hmm. The big issue, there's two issues for me. The first is obviously the way they've kind of cleaned this cap up. The second is I'm not sure who they're going to find to fill the gaps that they've created.
Yeah, that's very true. They haven't created all those gaps yet. They're just talking about creating a lot of those gaps.
Replacing a Keandre Miller or a Mika Zibanejad in free agency will be difficult. Replacing them both is almost certain to be impossible.
They've already replaced Mika Zibanejad. They signed JT Miller. As far as Chris Drury is concerned, his top two centers are Trocheck and Miller. He doesn't need Zibanejad. If they can find a serviceable 3C. Now, I do want to say, finding a serviceable 3C is not as easy as you would think it is, especially in free agency. Just ask Toronto. But if they can find one, you're much more likely to find one on the open market than a 1C or a 2C.
Fair.
But I do think they very much need to land a player like Marner if they are going to contend next year. And I am not convinced that their defense is worth a dang, especially if Fox doesn't rebound this year, which Fox can absolutely rebound this year. I totally believe he has that in him. But if he doesn't, I think they're pretty screwed.
I was looking at Micah's charts for Fox the other day, and they were pretty positive on Fox, that he had a good shot generation rate and shot suppression rate. Just he himself was snake bitten when it came to points, and that might be true. Mm-hmm. But I also have a tough time believing in a defensive roster that's your 2D right now is Will Borgen. He's overexposed in that position.
Yeah,
Carson
very much
Soucy,
so.
Urho Vakanainen.
Yeah, they need Drury needs to trade for a defenseman. If that defenseman isn't going to be Keandre Miller,
if they can pull this off, and find the right replacements and clean up their cap, it's going to look really good. I just do not think Chris Drury has the capacity to attract the players that they think they can, with his reputation.
It's still New York. It's still the Rangers. The Rangers don't have trouble signing free agents. And
They have never.
Until somebody says they're having trouble signing free agents, and I'm not going to believe it until it actually is happening. I'm not going to anticipate that. But you keep talking like they've already cleaned up their cap. They haven't. They still haven't traded Zibanejad. They still haven't traded Miller. They've still got significant liabilities on that cap.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's an interesting place.
Yep. Anyway, those are my Rangers thoughts. I'm sure that they're only worth about a penny. So,
what's a penny?
Apparently, we don't have them anymore.
Finally. Huh. I guess Donald Trump did something right.
I guess so.
That's the one thing.
That's it.
Pennies suck. That's it.
I haven't seen one in a while. I probably have one in piggy bank. I still have a piggy bank. I haven't seen it in a while, though. I think it might be in the guest room.
When I was in Indianapolis in 2016 or 2017 for a concert, I bought dinner or breakfast with cash, and the guy gave me pennies back, and I was looking at them in my hand like I'd just seen a fucking ghost. I was like, what the shit is going on? Why did you push these ancient, decrepit things into my palm? And then I loudly said, right, I'm in America, and I left.
That is a deep disrespect to President Lincoln. He's on the penny, right?
President Lincoln was a believer in colonization rather than equality. So, hashtag
Oh, boy.
Lincoln sucks.
Oh boy, wow. Okay, buddy.
I am obviously, that is not my real take on President Lincoln. He's a pretty good guy. Did the thing, All right. We should not talk about. I am stretching out as much time as humanly possible, but I think it is time we talk about the PWHL. Now, folks, if you want to join and see me melt down in real time as Ottawa continues to fumble the free agency period, please jump on our Discord at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. You can also find us on social media, Instagram and Bluesky at Neutral Zone Hotel. We would love it if you give us a follow. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, give the episode 5 stars. It really helps us. That's how we spread the word. Share it with your friends. If you got a PWHL fan who's your friend, say, hey, these guys are having good chats about this really interesting league. And now I'm going to have a public meltdown. And hopefully by the time I'm done, something has happened in Ottawa. So, yesterday at 9 a.m., PWHL free agency opened. Roughly half the league was free agents. I think that's about right, SJ?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It was a lot. The expansion draft had just concluded. Multiple players were brought to Vancouver and Seattle, and the general assumption was they'd filled their ranks with larger contracts and star power. They probably can't do much more, and holy crap, were we wrong.
Well, we were wrong about Vancouver, apparently.
So yesterday opens with Hannah Miller leaving the Scepters for Vancouver, 3-year deal. Teresa Vanasova leaving the Charge for Vancouver with a 2-year deal. And I think today they added Michaela Cava from
the Frost.
So one of their top line players. And they brought in Chanel Watkins and Greco today.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I think Greco and Cava are an item, so that might just be kind of the promise. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Vancouver has loaded up.
Yeah, Vancouver it's really interesting if you look at their depth chart right now, because they have pretty much, they're only 3 players short of a full roster of 12, 6, and 2 goalies. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It's like they're not, like, they don't even need to bother to show up to the draft. They're not exactly going to have a highly competitive camp, I think, because they have already signed everybody. Maybe they take a couple of low-cost forwards, but yikes. So I assumed going into free agency that they had a handshake deal in place with Hannah Miller, because she is a Vancouver native, and I was correct about that. I was shocked when they signed Vanashova. I was like, where are they getting the money? Michaela Cava is maybe a kind of more of a, I mean, I think she's one of the top free agents, but maybe she took a little smaller deal. I don't know. And then Chanel Watkins and Greco are not high dollar players, but taking all of Miller, Cava, and Vanashova on top of all of the players they signed in their exclusive signing window and then drafted, I I would love to see their cap sheet because I have no idea how they're affording this roster. I'm just absolutely baffled by this.
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. Seattle has been much less active. They signed Mariah Keppel and Lexi Agia, who are more middle class players. I don't think either one of those is commanding a high dollar.
I would say Lexi is a pretty firm bottom six player.
Yep.
I would say that Mariah Keppel is she's like a defensive specialist, and that is not a bad thing to have on your team.
No. She can play on the third pair. I'm sure she'll be perfectly fine in that role.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I'm not surprised by Seattle not making a ton of moves in free agency. I am shocked by Vancouver. Yeah.
I mean, they literally went out there and grabbed the three biggest names on the list.
They absolutely did. And
after adding Jen Gardner and Ashton Bell and two of the three defenders nominated for Defender of the Year this year, it is
and Sarah Nurse.
Shocking. Yeah. Sarah Nurse. And getting Emmerance Mashmeyer. And so
signing Mash, and she's not making peanuts.
So, yeah, it obviously we won't know anything until camp. Mm-hmm. We won't know anything until we see the puck drop, but...
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they trade. If they don't have to be cap compliant right now, they could choose to, trade out Izzy Daniel or somebody like that. I don't know. If they haven't signed Brooke McQuigg or Gabby Rosenthal yet. Those are both RFAs. Maybe, I don't know if they can afford to.
I don't know either.
Unless they basically say to them, sign for the minimum or you don't get a spot. I don't know. I don't know if they have any kind of arb right. I don't think they do. So they might have to just take what they're given if they want to play. I don't think they can hit waivers.
I don't know.
Without a contract. We're running up against my knowledge of how PWHL contracts work there.
Well, I don't think we know everything about how it works, but
yeah, it's not all public.
I think that there is certainly, especially players who were exposed in the draft, I think there was a level of you can choose to come to us and we can give you some favorable terms, or we can just go out and get you.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably used by both teams to maximize their signing period. I
agree.
And I think that they were then able to maximize, in a lot of cases, their selections as well. So fair to say that teams have been, especially Ottawa and Boston, have been aggressively looted.
Boston has been very aggressive about re-signing players today and getting new players.
We're going to get to that. Let's just save it for a little bit.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about Toronto next. So Toronto re-signs Callie Flanagan, Jesse Comper. They re-sign Claire Dalton, or they sign Claire Dalton and Elaine Chuli out of Montreal, and then inked Natalie Spooner to a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm. Both Comper and Spooner got 2 years.
Yeah. So really interesting to me. Spooner committing to 2 more years, I think, is very good for her. Awesome. And I think she did have an off year given the injury.
Well, yeah. She destroyed her knee.
Yeah, destroyed it. She didn't destroy it.
Her knee was destroyed. It is not shocking that she had a bad year.
Comper, I think, was one of the top free agents available.
Absolutely.
Bringing her back is a big victory for the Scepters. Callie Flanagan is, again, more of a defensive specialist, but she's put in quite a few points in the playoffs for her position. But I think the big news here is bringing in Elaine Chuli. And you would have to think bringing in Elaine Chuli spells the end of Kristen Campbell's time as a Toronto Scepter.
Yeah, I think she played herself out of a job in Toronto. She was real inconsistent for them. They did not have they just simply didn't have reliable goaltending last year. They needed to do something. They must, Elaine Chuli and Reagan Kirk seem kind of similar to me. I mean, I'm not sure. We don't have I haven't seen advanced goalie stats for the PWHL, so I can't say. But they played a very similar number of games. They had fairly similar save percentage, which is a very shallow kind of analysis. But they must see something in Elaine Chuli that means they think that she and Kirk are going to be a good tandem for them. So I definitely think we're looking more at a shared crease in Toronto, unless for some reason Chuli just really knocks it out of the park, or Kirk. Kirk could do that too.
I think Chuli, who won the Isabel Cup in 2023 with the Toronto Six, one of the worst team names I've ever heard. I think it's a homecoming. She has had very good statistics as a backup goaltender. Her 2023-24 in Montreal was exceptional. I think bringing her in is to push Reagan Kirk. So I think they think Kirk is ready. But you want someone who has the capacity to play half the games in case she's not. So Chuli is that person. I think she is possibly the best backup goaltender in the league now that Gwyneth Phillips has been promoted to full-time. And I think that it's a very smart move on Toronto's behalf.
Yeah, but they still have to trade Campbell. They can't just cut her. She has a guaranteed contract.
And there's only one destination for her.
Yep.
So
they have to either make it work with New York or they carry her.
Yeah. I guess we will see.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. I like that they picked up Claire Dalton, good hockey player, bottom six. She's going to be fine.
Yeah, they've done a good job, reloading in Toronto.
Just as another note, Montreal has also signed Haley Skimura out of Toronto. Haley Skimura, I think, is a player who there was a lot of expectation of being a good scoring top six winger. She was decent in her first year, but really underperformed in her second. Hopefully a change of scenery helps, and maybe a chance to play with the best player in the world. Who knows?
Well, she had a change of scenery last year when she got traded. Was she any better after that trade to Toronto?
I don't think so. Let me look. Teams, Toronto, roster. They're still showing last year's roster. So Haley Skimura last year, in the 2025 regular season, she scored 0 points in 6 games with the Charge and 3 points in 19 games with the Scepters.
Oof, that's hard.
After 10 and 24 in 2024. So
yeah, she had a real drop off. I wonder, maybe she wasn't healthy.
I never heard any rumors of injuries when she was with Ottawa, but
yeah, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? She did have a goal in the playoffs. There you go.
Huh? That's something.
Best of luck to Haley Skimura. She scored Ottawa's first ever goal, so she is the answer to a trivia question, at least.
Ottawa has not scored a ton of goals, so
not nothing, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Toronto, so we did Toronto.
We're still in Montreal, right?
Yeah, we just finished Montreal.
No, we didn't. They've signed more than just Skimura. They've also signed Cheyenne Darkangelo. And they've signed Katie Tabin and Jessica DiGirolamo. I don't think Jessica DiGirolamo has been announced, but
no, she's not on the tracker on Sportsnet. But yeah, the rumor is she has been signed. That's a big get. I think she's someone who a lot of teams were looking for. Cheyenne Darkangelo had a 17-point season after a 1-point season the year before. I think Darkangelo probably had the best year she's ever going to have in the PWHL last year, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And they probably want her for middle 6 minutes, which I think is fine. Katie Tabin sticking around is really good for them.
Yeah.
So I think they have successfully
Reloaded.
Yeah, they've reloaded in a lot of ways. They could use a little bit more goals, but maybe that's Skimura. Maybe they get lucky and she bounces back.
Yeah, I'd like to see them. They probably want to extend Catherine Dubois as well. But I think the rest of their lineup is kind of replaceable.
I concur. Yeah, I think Montreal's going to remain a top team.
Absolutely. I think Montreal's going to remain a top team as long as Poulin and Stacey are playing.
The Fleet, Boston.
They've been busy today.
Who they got? They re-signed Tapani.
Yep, that was their big one. I think that was absolutely their priority, was extending Tapani. They just also extended Schaffsal and Saunier.
Those are big ones. But again, they've lost Hillary Knight, and I'm not seeing anything coming in to replace that yet. So maybe it's a draft situation. They also lost their head coach.
Yes, that is the rumor. It hasn't been confirmed, but the AP did report it, which means it's probably done and dusted. Courtney Kessel is in talks, is in the final discussion to take over the head coaching position in Princeton, replacing Gardner Moray, who just went to become PWHL Vancouver's GM. Courtney Kessel coached as an assistant under Gardner Moray at Princeton for 4 years, previous to her time in the PWHL. And I guess she decided that she wanted to go back to the NCAA. I can't say as I super blame her. The pay is probably pretty comparable, and the travel is probably a lot better. The schedule is probably a lot better. And these NCAA coaching jobs, they tend to be very stable, secure kind of jobs. There's not a lot, unless you're like actively terrible, there's not a ton of turnover in them. And so people get really comfortable. They become a kind of an institution in these positions.
Yeah, they're very comfortable positions. If you get one, and you can keep it for a couple of years, you're probably keeping it for 20. So New York, another team that was deeply impacted by expansion. They announced today they brought in Jinsey Rose from Ottawa
They haven't announced it yet.
Sorry, reported.
Yeah.
And also reported that they've re-signed Taylor Gerard.
Yep.
I think Jinsey Rose was expected. Her husband is kind of in that area. She had 14 points last year. It was a very good year for her. Taylor Gerard sticking around there's some of your bottom six sorted out, I suppose. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I think I thought it was very funny that, considering how hard they went to protect their defense in the expansion draft, the first thing they do is sign a defender. They don't need more of those. They need forwards. Their forward group is looking pretty barren right now.
I would not be surprised if they're planning on trading one of their 3 remaining big level defenders.
Which one?
Probably Jamie Bourbonnais.
Yeah?
Yeah. She underperformed last year. The rumor in Ottawa is they want her for WAGs reasons, but I'm not like super hot on paying to get Jamie Bourbonnais.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
So, Minnesota is able to re-sign Natalie Bookbinder, and in the bigger news, 3-year deal for Maddie Rooney.
Yes, that was interesting. I know they wanted her back. She was certainly their 1G, their top goalie for these playoff runs. And she was making less than Hensley. So, but now I think they're in the position of paying big for 2 goalies, which is certainly a choice.
Well, it's not like they're going to be paying that money to their defenders. So they got looted. Bookbinder, I think, is they had to keep Bookbinder with what happened on the expansion draft.
Well, what do you mean? Oh, just because they lost their defense? Because they lost Thompson and Jakes.
Yeah, she was their clear 4D, so. Now it looks like she's top 2.
Yep. They're also rumored to have signed Sydney Morin to shore up that defense.
That would be nice, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there any team we haven't talked about yet?
I think it's time for you to lament.
All right, so it is currently 9:18 Eastern Time on the second day of free agency. The Ottawa Charge have not officially signed anybody. They have not been reported to have signed anybody. I know somebody who has contacts in the Charge organization. They don't have anything coming, is what I'm hearing.
Whoa.
So they took a big swing at, the rumor is they took a big swing at Spooner and lost.
It's an interesting choice to go after Spooner.
So to be clear, that means that the Ottawa Charge has lost from last year their leading scorer, their second most time on ice defender. They have lost their third time on ice and highest scoring defender. They have lost their first round pick. They have lost the person who was their starting goaltender. They have lost their fourth time on ice defender. They have lost, I'm missing somebody in my brain. I can't remember who else we lost, but let's just say it's been really bad.
And they've
be an Ottawa fan, and they've done nothing. So all the top 5, I think the top 5 free agents are off the board. Mm-hmm. In Miller, even though handshake, Venisheva, Kava, Comper, and Spooner. And Tapani, I guess, if you want to throw her in there for top 6. And Ottawa has not signed one of them. They haven't signed anything. There's been rumors they're working on trades, potentially, like I said, Jamie Bourbonnais for Wags reasons. No trades.
And they've got to re-sign some RFAs.
Yeah, so as of right now, the only defenders on their roster from last year are Jocelyn Larocque, Rania Savalainen. Stephanie Markowski needs a deal. Mm-hmm. Zoe Boyd's gone. Tara Lova's gone. Ashton Bell's gone. Jinsey Rose is gone.
They're in trouble.
This is bad. And this is a team that went to the finals, a team that there was no rumored locker room issues. Other forwards, other players like Natalie Snodgrass, who was she was riding the pine at the end of it. She said she's done. Victoria Bach retired. I don't know what's going on, but it's real bad. Something is wrong here.
Yeah, no, this leaves me wondering what happened. What is happening? Like, did somebody, what were people unhappy? Literally nobody seems to know. And it's like we're watching an implosion in real time. And it's happening very slowly, and it's really, really concerning. Like, the PWHL really, they talk up a lot about parity. I think that was always going to be a bit of a pipe dream, considering how quickly that players can move to free agency in this league. But at the same time, there are only so many roster spots. And so, like, at the end of the day, Ottawa's going to sign people. They're not going to be the top players in the league, though.
The top players in the league are no longer available.
They are not.
And Ottawa lost one of the top 3 and 2 of the top 5. The top 10, sorry. I wouldn't put Jinsey Rose in the top 5, but she was probably like 9, 10 in terms of available players.
And this is a league where you can't really build through the draft if you only own a player's rights for 2 years. So what's really the point of getting a top pick?
I wanna show you something, and it's gonna make you go, wow. It is this is the roster right now, including RFAs, assuming they're signed, that Ottawa has for next year. It has 12 players on it, and one of them is wrong.
Oof.
Because they still list Ashton Bell as a charge.
I mean, I'm looking at the Kyle Cushman's master spreadsheet, so I can kind of see it, but
it's bad. It's really bad. So
yeah.
I again, no rumored issues in the room, no rumored issues with the coach, the GM. There have been, like, obviously TD Place is older. The facilities aren't as good as some might be, but there's a new arena on the way. They're building it. They're supposed to be breaking ground this year.
An arena that's too small.
Yeah, but it'll have modern facilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much the players really care about how many seats there are.
Yeah, I don't think they do. At the end of the day, this is really bad.
Is this just Mike fumbling it?
I don't know. Like, nobody, there are no answers right now.
Yeah.
There are no answers, and as a fan of this team, what has happened over the last 2 days with, like, I assumed Zoe Boyd was going to be an Ottawa charge for life. She seemed to love it in Ottawa. She is a fan favorite. She played her way up from 8th D at the start of the year to top 4D. Mm-hmm. I assumed they were going to give her a reasonable deal and say, Zoe, you're a charge for the next 2 years. And she's gone to Boston. And she has been on Instagram all day replying to fans, telling them how much she's going to miss them. So something happened here.
Did they just not offer her a contract?
We don't know. We do not know.
Oh, this is so bizarre. I hope that by the time this episode comes out, there's some kind of answer and everybody is listening and just screaming because they know and we don't. But at the same time, sometimes these things happen and you never find out.
Yeah.
And it's really painful when that happens.
I mean, I think that the fan base is shook right now.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I can see that just from scrolling the Bluesky feed. People are freaking out, and they should be.
Yeah.
At this point, I was like, after day one, I was like, but there were still players on the board. I was really concerned when they lost Banashova. I was like, oh, that's a bad sign. And then everything after that has just been like a disaster.
I'm writing a Bluesky post. Don't worry, hashtag Charge fans, I got you covered. Currently having a meltdown about free agency on @Neutral Zone Hotel. Hopefully by the time it hits your feed, we have answers. And at least one signing. PWHL.
Who's left?
Fuck my life.
There's if I just look down the list of UFAs, it's like the best UFA still on the board is maybe Catherine Dubois and Michaela Grant-Mentis.
And Michaela Grant-Mentis got cut by Ottawa for no reason in the first year.
She's not coming back.
She's not going to Ottawa.
Yeah.
And Catherine Dubois is very clearly only ever playing in Montreal.
Right. So it's there's nothing. Maybe does Liz Shepard, has she been announced for anything? I mean, there's really nothing here. These are not what is left on the board. They're not top 6 players. They're not top 4D. I mean, maybe they will be when the league is twice the size it is now, but all right now, they need to absolutely knock it out of the park on free agency. Or, I'm sorry, in the draft.
The only thing I can think of is that right now Mike is trying to get some trades on the go. Like, can you bring somebody back who went to the Vancouver? Maybe that's Vancouver's plan all along, is to hold a couple players hostage. Can you pry loose a player? Like, honestly, if you can get Jamie Bourbonnais right now and not move a meaningful roster player, I'm going to be jumping for joy, because it's something. It's something. Or, like, hell, trade for Kristen Campbell. I don't want her on my team, but it would be something. Give me anything, Mike. Give me something, because I have been this whole year. I am in a group chat full of hardcore Ottawa Charge fans, most of whom are like very emotional people. I didn't want to say lesbians, but more than one lesbian in that group has told me this is just how we are. And that's okay. You know, you be that way. But very emotional people. And I've been the one saying, we got to calm down. We got to look at the numbers. We got to look at the stats. We got to see the plan. Where's the fucking plan? You cannot get spanked on the first 2 days of free agency in a league where 50% of the players and something like 45% of the points that were scored last year are free agents. We have been absolutely fucked. And the work that Mike did to bring in players like Vinisheva, who we got in a trade, to bring in Darkangelo, who we got in a trade, that has been completely taken apart. And that is frustrating. I do not expect to win every free agency. I expect us to at least show up to the goddamn game.
No, fair enough. Absolutely.
Well, that was cathartic.
Good, I'm glad.
Thank you, Void. I appreciate you listening as I scream at you, because fuck. All right.
Hey, I'm not the Void. I'm SJ.
No, you're not. You're SJ. Okay. Well, SJ, do you have any closing thoughts?
One last thing. PWHL Seattle is opening ticket sales tomorrow. I am pretty pleased with the prices. I will be able to spend under $1,000 US for some good seats. So for two, yeah, I'm excited.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank
I hope
you.
you and Evan have a great time at the games.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I mean, Vancouver should be in town a lot, so you're going to see a lot of great players.
We're going to have great players.
Unfortunately, Ottawa is going to be there sometimes too, so you know.
Well, it's always nice to see a win.
Yeah, Jocelyn the Rock is going to learn how to play 60 minutes a night, or it's going to kill her.
Might.
Maybe both.
It might.
All right, I gotta end this before I have another meltdown. So, folks, thank you for tuning in to the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, hosted, and produced by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. We're at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord to join our Discord. At Neutral Zone Hotel on Bluesky and Instagram, /Neutral Zone Hotel on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, smash the like button, whatever what you're currently listening to us on allows you to do to show that you've had a good time with your stay. Truly, we appreciate your business, and we will see you next time. Yeah,
Igor,
so in 2023-24, they won the President's Trophy.
That was the year Igor won the Vezina, right?
Yes, and then in the playoffs, they were knocked out by the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round.
Oh, wait.
Or no?
No, they went to the Eastern Conference Final.
Oh, that's in 2024.
Oh, was it? Was that last year?
Yeah, that's last year.
All right, let's restart.
2025.
I sound like an idiot.
2025, they went out. Yeah, well, you can edit the whole thing out. You have the power. You can make me look like an idiot, but you can make yourself look smart. You should put that at the end of the episode, by the way.
We interrupt this podcast with a breaking news bulletin. You didn't think there was any way I wasn't breaking in to mention the Panthers won Game 6, right? The team I used to watch miss the playoffs every year? The one that dropped balloons from the ceiling after losing the last home game of the year once? They just won 2 cups in a row. Let's talk about it. This should only take about 45 minutes. What a game. Sam Reinhart with 4 goals. A great performance from Bobrovsky. They learned from Game 4 to never let your foot off the gas. The Oilers came out strong, but they couldn't get a goal in the first 5 minutes. Then Evan Bouchard coughed up the puck to Sam Reinhart. He was off to the races. Around Matthias Ekholm. Shot the puck as he fell down. Goal.